Hi, so this is my presentation on Piaget's theory of cognitive development. Over here, there's a picture of Jean Piaget, and he was a developmental psychologist who was really interested in learning about children's developing cognition. So, the ways that they think, and the way that they know things, the way that they learn things, the way that they remember things. Um, So in about the 1920s, he was in Paris and he was conducting intellectual tests with children, and he was very, very interested in how children would give the same wrong answers to a question if their ages were the same. Um, and so that's what started his uh, work into the stages of cognitive development, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So basically, he said that, a child's mind is not a miniature version of an adult's mind. That instead, he said, a child's mind reasons in wildly illogical ways when we compare it to the adult mind. And so he believed that the cognitive development occurred in stages, and that the progression of cognitive ability stems from trying to make sense of our experiences, which he would refer as schemas. And he would say that we would either assimilate or we would accommodate our schemas. So basically, when he says that we assimilate our schemas, he's meaning that we assimilate our new experiences to our current understanding, to our schema. For example, if a toddler learned what a dog was, they may end up just calling every four-legged animal a four-legged animal a dog. And then when he's talking about accommodating our schemas, he's referring to how we accommodate our schemas or our understandings to incorporate new information provided by new experiences. So that brings us to the four stages of his theory of cognitive development. And the first stage is the sensory motor stage, which occurs between birth and 2 years old. And during this time, we're taking in our world through our senses and through our actions. And we live in the present, and we live with the mindset that if the mindset of out of sight, out of mind, which is just a concept called object permanence, and those in the sensory motor stage lack object permanence. And this is what the diagram over here is showing. So here's a child with a ball, and when whoever's conducting the test takes the ball away and moves it behind the piece of wood, and the child no longer sees the ball, it thinks that the ball no longer exists. So that's what it means. That's what object permanence means, or a lack of object permanence. It's the idea that things still exist even if you don't see them. By about 8 months or so, children will start developing a little bit of object permanence. The second stage is called the pre-operational stage, and it occurs between the ages of 2 and 6 or 7 years old. And during this stage, we're able to now represent and express things with words and images, but we're not able to perform mental operations. And an example of this is the concept of conservation, which just basically means that the quantity of something doesn't change even if it changes shape. So that's what this diagram is showing. You can see that there's a tall glass, an empty tall glass, and then there's two smaller glasses with the same amount of milk. Now, when the person conducting the experiment pours one of those short glasses of milk into the tall glass of milk, a child in the pre-operational stage would think that the glass the taller glass actually has more milk, even though just like a minute ago we could see that it was actually the same amount of milk. Children during this stage are also very egocentric. They can't understand things from a different person's point of view, and they also begin forming a theory of mind, which is the ability to sort of infer other people's feelings and their mental states. So, for example, like they would be able to make the connection between something that they did and how someone reacted to it. So they get the idea that, okay, I know that if I do this, then my mom or my dad would be angry. And then after that stage, we've got the concrete operational stage, which occurs between the ages of 7 and 12 years old. And during this stage, we're starting to be able to grasp mathematical transformations and conservation. And we also are able to think logically by making connections with our experiences. So that's what this diagram is showing, is that here's a kid who's sneezing while their pet cat is rubbing up on him. And someone during the concrete operational stage would know, okay, this cat is rubbing up on me and I'm sneezing. It's probably because of the cat, you know. And then lastly is the formal operational stage, which occurs between the ages of 12 years old and onwards. And during this stage, you know, just our logic sort of expands even more, and to the point that we're able to encompass abstract thinking. We're able to systematically reason, unlike in the concrete operational stage where we literally had to have something happen to us for us to learn. Now, in the formal operational stage, you would use systematic reasoning, which would just mean that you would be able to hypothesize, like if I did this, then this would happen, or this could happen.